Se cayeron edificios.
September 7, 2017 was a quiet, normal day in Mexico. People went about their routines, unaware that by nightfall, what followed was the most powerful earthquake the country had seen in over a century. But what triggered this massive earthquake? And why are parts of Mexico particularly vulnerable to such catastrophic events? Mexico sits at a geological crossroads, a meeting point of titans. Three massive tectonic plates converge here: the North American, the Pacific, and the Cocos Plate. But it's the interaction between two of these geological giants that holds the key to understanding Mexico's seismic destiny. The North American plate stands like a giant wall. Against it, the Cocos Plate pushes relentlessly, 75 millimeters per year. It's painfully slow by human standards, but few realize the true scale of what's brewing underneath their streets, their homes, their schools. Mexico knew the dangers. They built SASMEX, 97 electronic sentinels standing guard across the country, listening for the first whispers of movement. When they detect something, precious minutes of warning could mean thousands of lives saved. Every September 19th, millions of Mexicans pause their daily lives. The sirens wail across cities and towns, and people stream into the streets. They call it the National Earthquake Drill, a reminder of the devastating 1985 quake that changed everything. Children who weren't even born then know exactly what to do when the ground begins to shake. But there's something even these well-rehearsed preparations can't account for.
This pressure is being built up by plate tectonics. It slips, and the energy then radiates out across the surface of the Earth. It's this
Deep below, pressure had been mounting. The last earthquake of this magnitude in the region occurred over 3 decades ago, but the stress never stopped accumulating. The Earth doesn't forget, and it simply waits.
Home to most of the world's volcanoes, this is where the Earth moves and roars to life.
When it finally released, it wouldn't just be a mere tremor. It would rupture through an entire tectonic plate, unleashing its force on Chiapas, Oaxaca, and through countless communities who have no idea that beneath their feet, the countdown has already begun. As the clock struck 11:49 p.m., the night held its breath. 87 kilometers southwest of Pajijiapan, deep beneath the Gulf of Tehuantepec, decades of accumulated pressure finally found its breaking point at a depth of 47 kilometers. An 8.2 magnitude Titan awakened, about to become the strongest earthquake Mexico had witnessed in a century. The first warning came not from the ground, but from the sky. Across Mexico City, an eerie chorus of sirens pierced the night, racing against time to alert 20 million souls of what was coming. In those crucial moments, years of drills and preparation put to their ultimate test. Families like Jose Alberto Martinez had lived with earthquakes all their lives. In downtown Juchitán, the 47-year-old said he and family members have long been accustomed to earthquakes. So when the ground started moving, at first they simply waited a bit for it to stop, until objects began falling and they bolted for the street. We felt like the house was coming down on top of us, Martinez told the AP, accompanied by his wife, son, and mother-in-law.
Su puta madre, güey. Verga. A la verga.
For 60 seconds that felt like forever, the earth roared. Buildings sway, roads crack, and bridges groan under the strain. The earth's fury knew no borders. In Antigua, Guatemala, 400 miles from the epicenter, Cindy Lamont, who was in the city of Antigua, told the BBC, "It was swaying so intensely, it felt like we were in a boat and I heard neighbors screaming through the walls. It lasted almost 3 minutes." Then came the ocean's answer. Tsunami waves, nearly 2 meters high, hammered the coast of Chiapas. As warning systems screamed their alerts from Mexico to Ecuador, coastal communities braced for nature's second act. But the earthquake's reach extended far beyond the coastline. In Mexico City, over 1,000 kilometers from the epicenter, buildings swayed like trees in a storm. Millions poured into the streets, their lives interrupted by violent tremors that seemed to last an eternity. When the earth finally settled, the numbers told a staggering story. Over 50 million people had felt its terror, making it not just Mexico's strongest quake in 100 years, but the largest earthquake anywhere on Earth in 2017. belongings buried in the house. On the square near the town's Martes Santo church, a group of women camped in the rain, cooked eggs on a fire, and prepared corn tortillas. We still have no water or electricity. We are sleeping with the children out here in the open, said one of them, Maria de los Angeles Orozco. No one has come to help us. We've lost everything. When the financial toll was finally calculated, the earthquake had carved a $4 billion path of destruction across Mexico. But for the thousands of displaced families and demolished communities, the true cost was immeasurable. In the wake of devastation, Mexico faced an immense challenge. The response was swift and decisive. The Mexican government declared a state of emergency across 122 municipalities. Soon, the rhythmic sound of military helicopters filled the air as thousands of soldiers deployed to the hardest-hit regions of Chiapas and Oaxaca. Their mission? To reach those who had lost everything.
International disaster response teams began flying in from around the world.
The time following the disaster,
They weren't alone. International organizations mobilized within hours. World Vision and the Red Cross teams rushed to establish lifelines, delivering food, medicine, and creating safe spaces for displaced families. Medical teams worked tirelessly, setting up field hospitals where regular facilities had been damaged. But the road to recovery proved longer than anyone anticipated.
The dust settled, the Mexican government announced that $800 million would be set aside for reconstruction. But little is actually known about where much of that money went, and transparency advocates warn the problem isn't isolated to this one natural disaster.
By September 2019, the pace of rebuilding told a sobering story. Of the 200,000 homes damaged or destroyed, less than half had been reconstructed. Historic structures faced even greater challenges. Over 1,350 colonial-era buildings still awaited restoration, with experts carefully weighing whether to restore or rebuild their centuries-old walls. Yet, amidst the destruction, Mexico's early warning system proved its worth. Those precious seconds of advance notice allowed countless Mexico City residents to evacuate before the strongest waves hit. But in rural areas like Chiapas and Oaxaca, where traditional building methods prevailed, the damage was catastrophic. The message became clear. While technology can warn us, our buildings must be ready. Communities needed stronger structures, stricter building codes, and better enforcement, especially in vulnerable rural regions. But perhaps most importantly, they needed a faster, more efficient path to recovery. As Mexico continues its slow march toward recovery, these lessons stand as a blueprint for future resilience, reminding us that the true measure of preparedness lies not just in how we face disaster, but in how we rise from it. 5 years have passed since that September night when the earth shook Mexico to its core. Today, while some wounds are still healing and some homes still rising from the ruins, the lessons of 2017 continue to shape Mexico's future. Each brick laid and each life rebuilt carries the wisdom earned from that fateful night. But will it be enough for the next time?